I powered through and decided I would finish The Seven Who Were Hanged by Leonid Andreev today because tomorrow I have a staff meeting and I will not have time to read out anymore. Maybe I will do a prep video then, kind of going through the various people in this story because it's very much like they're all actors, characters in a play where we have them sort of we have the victim at the beginning, we have them kind of the trial, but then we get split into all the various different people, and they all have their kind of like monologues, their their dark passage through the night um, as they travel towards execution, and then we have them come together, and then we have them get hanged. It's a very straightforward story, but it's that kind of plunging into their their depths, their psychological reactions to being murdered, state executed. I mean, executed or murdered, whichever way you want to look at it. I'm probably more on the state murder kind of thing. Of this is at the very end there, it talks about this being an insane act. This just like what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck. It's an insane act to murder people this way, regardless of what they've done. That it's a kind of a sullying thing for the state. Kind of just struck by how kind of stripped back this is. You can see why the Russians aren't fucking around. There is a lot less of the we're going to do all the social niceties, the kind of the at least on the really, I mean, maybe that's what you can say about a lot of great literature, is it has a tendency to pare away all the bullshit, and what you're left with seems to be something that kind of really kind of continues to echo through through time, as you know. How would you react to being sentenced to death? How would you react to being sentenced to death and then made to wait for weeks and weeks until it actually happened, and just having that sit on you of like it's coming, and then you're carried on a train into the middle of the woods and executed, just like super gross. And we have this in a supposedly Christian society where this is the final execution is happening on Shrovetide weekend. The whole idea of repentance and redemption, and what does it say about a society that has those beliefs, that has maybe the beliefs of being able to kind of reflect on what you've done and to kind of come out the other side changed, or at least chastened. But we're not going to have that. We're just going to have death. We're just going to have death. And people's reaction to that, like, am I dead, or have I gone past death already? Or does it like drive you insane? It drives one guy just he's nuts. He's nuts by the end. Um, or I can't be hanged. I can't be. It's just like this can't be happening to me. Kind of a complete denial and fight that way. Um, and then just kind of craven fear, and then just kind of comradeship, and just like these people being a family who take care of each other, that are tender to each other, that are tender to the Romanian guy. They're tender to him. They kind of take care of him at the end. Um, and what does it say that we're how we treat these young people who, for whatever reason, decided that killing a minister was going to be a thing, and it's killing the minister by suicide. It does seem to be a suicide thing of killing them. It's like, what does that mean? Yeah, yeah. So I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this, especially as um, this is an era where a lot of anarchists are doing kind of by the deed, kind of the deed being kind of acts of violence to kind of attack the system. That there's this deep discontent with what's going on in the world, the with how things are run. I mean, Russia is very much kind of, this is pre-revolutionary Russia where they can't even get off the ground with kind of democracy. But I mean, it's happening in a lot of the democracies too, where you're having these we're having a lot of like assassination attempts, um, violence. That there's shit going on. Whether you agree with how these people or people like this are doing stuff like this, this it's showing some kind of an underlying, this is fucked. This is so fucked. And I mean, we're going to be going into after post this into a giant mass murder, a giant, but it's called war, where you know millions upon millions of people will be killed or will die of the flu after they've been after this. It's just like it's not good. It's not good, and this is definitely a part of that. The Seven Who Were Hanged by Leonid Andreev. I'll do prep. I'll probably do a prep video tomorrow, kind of going into each character a little bit, and just sort of think of kind of an overarching kind of discussion I can have of this book. Maybe look at Russian history at this point too, of like what this is expressing, because this is very much. I mean, he kind of leaves when the communists take over. He was definitely going for a democracy. This author, and definitely has kind of views on state murder. Yeah, and just kind of the corruption, the rot of his state at this point. You know, it had to change, and these young people felt very passionately away. Like, how young? Yeah, yeah. And the guy, and Werner being the guy who's like kind of a bit more urbane, and was like, I'm kind of just going through the motions now of being a terrorist. Though, fuck, he's about to kill. He was willing to kill himself for it, still. But it's just like he was doing it because there's nothing else to do. He kind of had a kind of a real lethargy that way, and actually being sentenced to death kind of woke him up, which was like, yeah, great, I'm awake now for my death. All right, I will leave it there. I'll leave it there.